Do you find yourself limping when walking and just wish you could walk like you used to? Well, this is the video for you. As a physical therapist, I've realized that most of the time limping is caused by two primary reasons. I'm going to explain what those are, but then also give you 3 movements to focus on today so you can get started right away on reducing your limp so you can get out and adventure. Here we go. To me, I think it's so incredibly important to first understand why limping is happening, and then we'll get to the exercises because they'll make much more sense. Now, the 2 primary reasons I typically see when it comes to limping and why it's happening, the first one being range of motion. If you're stiff, if you're tight, or if you have a joint that doesn't move as well as it should. I want to just go through a typical walking motion so you can actually see what joints are needed for which parts of walking. If I were to take a step with my left, if you look down at the foot first, as I come up, I need my big toe to allow my foot to come up and bend. If I don't have that motion in my foot, then it comes where you're kind of shifting your weight over to one side, trying to make up for that lack of foot mobility. While I'm in this step now, I'm coming up and I'm now needing my knee to bend to be able to bring my foot forward. If you are lacking knee bending or your knee doesn't bend very well, you can also have some of that shifting where you're now relying more on your hip to move yourself forward. So coming from the front, you're now relying on your hip to move and to bring yourself forward to help clear your foot. Now, thirdly, as I'm coming forward, I need ankle range of motion. Watch what my foot does as I come through. I need ankle range of motion to allow my foot to clear. If your ankle doesn't move as well, then again, you find maybe yourself shifting or you're finding yourself needing to bring your knee up higher, which can bring on an awkward gait, or it can make your walking a little bit slower by doing that. And then lastly, if you're having some hip stiffness or hip tightness, that doesn't allow you to take a big step. So say this motion is called hip extension. If you're not able to bring your hip back far enough, what's going to happen is you're going to take a smaller step, which can lead to limping or slowing down your walking so it feels less natural. On the same token, if you have difficulty bringing your leg forward, what may happen is you may just come into these really small steps where you don't have to bring your hip far forward. All of these are compensations that your body makes in order to make up for where mobility might be lacking. But I want you to know that it's not just one joint you need to focus on. Looking at multiple different joints can be very helpful when it comes to walking. Now, the second reason for limping is actually confidence putting full body weight on one leg. Now, if you're dealing with a painful condition, say osteoarthritis, or maybe you've just had an injury, you just have more pain on one side. Limping starts to happen because your body does not want to put full weight on that side. Now, if you have, say, feelings of instability, where maybe you don't trust that leg, if I didn't trust my right leg, the same thing is going to happen, regardless of pain or not. If I were to step, my body wants to get off that leg as quickly as possible. So you start to adopt kind of that limping gait as well. So whether you have pain, you have instability, or simply just that leg isn't as strong as it needs to be to support full body weight, these things can really inhibit walking. So within these 2 reasons, you may have a little bit of both going on, which is very common, or you may be more heavily sided towards one or the other. Regardless, now I want you to really start to think about why you're limping. Do you feel scared to put your full body weight on one side? Is your knee stiff? Is your hip stiff? Is your ankle stiff? Whatever it may be, start thinking about that. And that is how you can start to tackle reducing limping. So that being said, let's get into these 3 movements to help you stop limping right now. Now for these exercises, I'm going to demonstrate them barefoot so you can see how the toes are moving, how the ankle and foot responds, and so you can get a better idea of what to expect. Now, I do recommend doing these barefoot if that is feasible for you. If you have pain going barefoot, have a history of plantar fasciitis, or some other thing that can limit your ability to go barefoot, please wear shoes. Please do what is best for you. For this first exercise, I have a chair here just for support. I highly encourage you to always have support, especially when you're trying new movements and if you're not super confident in your balance. Now, for this first one, we are going to start looking at both range of motion and confidence in weight bearing. If you have a lot of pain on one side or are just feeling very hesitant putting full weight on one leg, this is one I highly encourage you to start with. Your feet are going to be about shoulder width apart. All I'm going to do is lift up one heel and then the other. Now I want you to appreciate in this movement 2 things. The first one being, this is a way to ease into full weight bearing. Because since both feet are still on the floor, you're not putting full weight on each side, but you're getting close, which is why I really like to use this one when starting out. The second thing is taking advantage of using this for toe mobility. See how your toes are moving. Now, if you watch, and I'll turn to the side just so you can see, this toe mobility that we were talking about the bending of the big toe to help propel you forwards, this can be helpful for that too. Maybe you notice that one side doesn't bend as well. These are notes to continue to take. I would say shoot for 30 to maybe 50 repetitions of just going back and forth. Now, if you're just starting out, err on the lower side. If you've been doing this for a while, see if you can increase the repetitions. Use double-handed support if you need to at first to further offload some body weight. As you get more used to this movement, the goal is to progress away from all support so that way you're just solely relying on your body to support yourself. The next movement is a staggered stance. So we're essentially taking this movement and taking it up a notch. You're going to stagger your feet. It doesn't necessarily matter which side goes first because you are going to be focusing on both. But if you have more of a painful side, you can experiment which position it feels best in and maybe which is more challenging. Because in this movement, we're actually going to be shifting your weight, but now it's going to be in a forwards backwards scenario, similar to walking. Take your feet apart as wide as your hip will allow. So this at first is working on hip extension, working on how far you can get that hip back. You want to be in a stance that feels comfortable. We don't ever want to be flaring up pain. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up onto my toe, kind of like the beginning of the walking pattern that we first talked about. So we're getting that toe mobility, we're getting that hip movement. And then I'm going to shift back and then lift my toes up. So I'm coming forwards, lifting my heel, shifting back and lifting my toes. Because what range of motion is this working? That ankle bending that you need to clear your foot. So we're just essentially going to be rocking back and forth in this position here. Experiment with how it feels. Maybe can you take your hip back a little bit further to help with that bigger step length? Can you increase the speed as you start to get more comfortable shifting your weight from one leg to the other? You're also going to switch sides because you're going to be testing those different foot motions. So now I'm still shifting my weight forwards, but now that left leg is working that back toe, and then I'm working that ankle on my right leg. and then continue back and forth. I would encourage maybe 10 to 20 on each side. Again, erring to the lower side if you're just starting out. Really just see how this feels for you. Use support either on the side, or you can use support in the front as well. We're looking for quality here. We want good repetitions. If that means support, that is okay. It is not a sign of weakness to resort to support. You're trying to get yourself better. You're not trying to just push through in order to get through the repetitions. Now, this third one, so these first two, we've essentially kept both feet on the ground. But when you're walking, it's essentially shifting your full weight on one side and then shifting your full weight to the other. So you're essentially standing on one leg for a brief period of time. So now we're going to try to bridge the gap between these first two movements into this third one. Now, this third one may be a little bit challenging at first, and you may need to slow it down and then start working towards increasing the speed. I'm going to start by tapping with my left side. I'm going to go forward, forward. Then we're going to the side, side, side. Notice the quick weight shifting. Back, back. So we're adding in that quick weight shifting, but also adding in different directions. Okay, so you're going to tap forward, forward, side, side, back, back. If you find your shoulders as you're doing this starting to dip one way or the other, or maybe you find yourself hesitant towards one side, use support. Again, the goal is to work away from it, but we want to get quality here. I would say focusing on 8 to 10 repetitions, which a repetition is 2 taps in each direction. So that was just one repetition. So trying these 3 movements can be a great way to start reducing your limp today. Whether you're just focusing on the first one or you're able to do all 3, whatever your body is giving you today, that's where you start. No need to significantly increase pain. From here, doing these every other day, maybe every day if you can be so incredibly helpful. These also can be used as a warm-up before you go out walking to really start to get your body used to how it needs to be moving in order to reduce limping. It can be possible to improve your walking, to walk like you used to. You just need the right movements in order to get you there. These are simply just a start. If you're looking for more exercises to help improve balance, improve your strength, finally feel confident to do the things that you actually want to do, I have a membership called Adventures for Life. Inside of this membership, we meet you where you're at. You take an intake quiz coming in to see and match you with the best exercises for you. You'll pass tests along the way to make sure you are on the right track. If you are ready to get back to your adventures, to regain your active life, I'll put the link to the membership down below where you can learn more and join. I hope this video is helpful. As always, thank you so much for watching.